Welcome to your Houston Rewind for September 4th through the 8th. I'm KHOU 11 digital anchor Brandy Smith. We know catching up on the news can be overwhelming in a city like Houston where it never seems to stop. So every weekend we take this opportunity to fill you in on some of the stories you may have missed. Let's rewind. They were sitting down for a Labor Day meal at a Rosenberg Denny's when an SUV slammed through the building, pinning them to the ground. Dozens of people were hurt in this crash. Matt Doherty spoke to a man who had just finished breakfast with his wife when the SUV careened into the wall.
Cell phone videos capture the pain and chaos in the moments immediately following the crash. Injured customers scramble for safety. Others help pull those who can't move out of the rubble. We blurred the faces of some who were injured and bloodied.
It was bad today.
79-year-old Roy Rodriguez and his 77-year-old wife Margaret were sitting in a booth near the back of the restaurant just before 11:30 this morning.
We were just about finished eating. We were drinking the coffee, and then all of a sudden, it come a storm.
The couple's booth was close to where the Jeep crashed through the building.
Because all of a sudden, it pow, pow, and the car was right there. And people scattered all over the place.
Roy and Margaret were both injured.
And blood, blood all over the place. I guess from dripping from here.
Roy was released from the hospital this evening, his wounds bandaged and his cuts stitched. His wife was taken to the medical center with more serious injuries. That's where she is tonight, with a gash in her possibly broken leg from a fallen beam. This is cell phone video of the driver of the Jeep, who Rosenberg police describe as a 30-year-old man. Here he is taking a sobriety test. We've blurred his face because he has not been charged with a crime.
The scariest thing was honestly seeing everyone bleeding from it all over, and then a man squished underneath the table.
Yesenia Aguinaga took these cell phone videos. We spoke with her by phone.
And I was supposed to have sat on that side, to be honest, but I had let a family go ahead of me, and then I felt horrible for doing that.
She was seated on the other side of the restaurant with her father. Neither were hurt. Both were shaken, just like Roy, who finds it hard to believe this happened.
God didn't want us to get hurt, you know. We just didn't get hurt real bad.
Tonight, he's grateful that this wasn't much worse.
We learned in the days that followed the crash that police issued a citation to the driver of the Jeep. Officers are still investigating and said it will be up to the district attorney's office whether charges are appropriate. After nearly 800 new laws went into effect on September 1st, Texans had questions about a lot of them, including one addressing service animals. It ups the penalty for anyone who passes off their pet as a service animal. Janelle Bluda broke down the new law.
Advocates for the law say the main goal behind it is to protect the disabled community and their service animals from other animals that are not specially trained. It's something animal advocates say continues to be a problem.
There had been a pretty sharp increase.
People falsely representing their pets as service animals.
It's really evident when you bring an untrained or misbehaved dog into a restaurant.
It's why Shelby Babowski with the Texas Humane Legislation Network says they've worked with lawmakers to pass a law this year that enhances the penalty for those who misrepresent their pets as service animals.
Maybe those people that have bought those fake vests and fake certificates will think twice about taking advantage of it.
Under this particular law, the state defines assistance animal and service animal as a canine that is specially trained or equipped to help a person with a disability and that is used by a person with a disability. Any other animal, Babowski says, would not be considered a service animal under this law.
There is a difference between emotional support animals and actual service animals.
And while emotional support animals may be protected under other statutes, she says under this one, they are not.
Under the Texas statute, only specially trained service dogs can go into public places like that.
However, a restaurant or business may allow it on their own, but if an establishment does not believe a customer has brought in a legitimate service animal, they can ask the owner 2 questions allowed under the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Whether the dog is a service animal and required because of a disability. And the other question you can ask is, what task or job does the dog perform?
and if found guilty of falsely representing a service animal. The penalty is now up to $1,000 and 30 hours of community service. Because all of this can be confusing, we have an article trying to simplify some of it. We have that posted on our website, KHOU.com.
Again, that is one of 774 laws that are now on the books in Texas. To learn more about the others, text the word laws to 713-526-1111. We'll text you back with a link to articles that go into more detail. Hundreds of thousands of people spent at least part of their Labor Day weekend on Galveston Island. Jason Miles went to the beach to find out how all those visitors boosted the island's economy.
From the Strand to the sand, it's the unofficial end of the summer here on the island, and a few showers did not dampen the fun. Like the waves rolling in from the Gulf, throngs of visitors are island-bound on holidays like this one.
We were here yesterday for her birthday.
Making it a long weekend?
Yes.
We were at the Wine and Food Festival at Moody Gardens.
How was that?
Awesome.
Galveston tourism officials expected between 250 and 500,000 visitors over the long Labor Day weekend, on par with how things have been in recent years.
In 2022, our tourism numbers were really fantastic. We brought over $1.2 billion in tourism tax and revenue to the city. So that was a really great, and we're expecting some similar numbers for 2023.
The only hiccup for much of today was a high rip current threat, especially along jetties and piers, prompting the beach patrol to fly a red flag and keep a closer watch on the weather.
These little pop-up cells have been coming through. Earlier today they did have some with lightning, but the later ones have not. So we do monitor that, and sometimes we'll clear the water, and we have to get the guards out of the tower too, so we're trying to keep everybody safe when those come through.
Most people coming to Galveston are from Greater Houston or somewhere else in Texas, looking for an easily accessible year-round getaway, resulting in more than 8.1 million visitors last year alone.
My wife enjoys, she just loves the water. And whether I want to do it or not, we're going to do it. We're going to come down here and ride up and down the seawall until I can't ride anymore, and then we're going to go home.
Here's something else to keep in mind safety-wise. The Beach Patrol says this is the last weekend for much of its staff who happen to be students or from other countries. Guard towers actually come down the first week of October, although roving patrols will remain. Reporting from Galveston, Jason Miles, KHOU 11 News.
The impeachment trial of suspended Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton got underway on Tuesday. It's expected to stretch several weeks, and KHOU 11 has team coverage of the proceedings. You can watch live coverage of the trial daily wherever you're watching this, or text the word Paxton to 713-526-1111, and we'll send you links detailing everything from how we got here to live blogs explaining what happened each day. New developments Tuesday in the KHOU 11 investigation of the Coffee City Police Department. Last week, we uncovered the town of 250 people has 50 officers on the force, and more than half of those officers have tainted pasts. After our report, Jeremy Rogalski learned the Coffee City City Council suspended the police chief.
Chief John J. Portillo is off the job for 30 days. The Coffee City Council voted to suspend him pending an independent investigation into what we found. KHOU 11 Investigates revealed how Portillo routinely hired officers who had been suspended, demoted, terminated, or dishonorably discharged from their previous law enforcement jobs for a wide range of misconduct or even criminal charges.
Call Garcia right now. Tell his he's a or his chain of command.
We also reported on a profanity-filled rant the chief launched at a Harris County constable while he was working an extra security job in Houston. And we uncovered how Portillo failed to list on his job application this active DWI case out of Florida in which he failed to appear in court.
From the looks of it, you weren't being truthful on the application to which you hold the job this day. Chief?
Yeah, I understand. I mean, but that's not what it is. I'm not being truthful.
You forgot?
I put down everything that was in my mind when I filled out my application to the best of my knowledge.
Our investigation also revealed how Coffee City warrant officers didn't even work in Coffee City. They stayed home in Houston, spending their time on the phone calling people with outstanding traffic warrants and collecting failure to appear fines. After we questioned Portillo about the program.
Is that legal?
Oh, I believe so.
The chief suspended the warrant division.
We got hold of Portillo on the phone. The chief declined to comment about the suspension. And that's not the only shakeup in the Coffee City ranks. Sergeant Cody Welch resigned from the department. We don't know why. Welch also declined to comment. Jeremy Rogowski, KHOU 11 investigates.
Watch Jeremy's 3-part investigation on Coffee City and its police department wherever you're watching this, or visit khou.com/investigations. Iconic Mexican rock band Maná honored Maite Rodriguez at their concert in San Antonio this week. Anayeli Ruiz took us there.
One of the most influential rock bands in Latin America, Maná. They're bringing attention to 10-year-old Maite Rodriguez's story. Ana Rodriguez lost her daughter Maite inside Robb Elementary last year. She was one of the 21 people killed. And after her death, a scholarship was created to honor Maite's dream of becoming a marine biologist.
With every student that, Maite's scholarship can help, she's almost graduating over and over and over. And she will always be a part of their story.
Now the 4-time Grammy winners are stepping in to help.
A percentage of the proceeds to the scholarship.
They're now donating money from their concerts in Texas.
Think of my daughter, and I talk to her and I tell her, oh my gosh, you really did it this time.
And while in San Antonio this weekend, they invited Ana to her concert. She had a chance to share her daughter with the band. And Maná's lead singer even wore a shirt with Maite's green Converse, now a symbol of the terrible tragedy in Uvalde.
He just has such a love for marine life as Maite did, and he's just rocking her shirt.
The band even brought Ana on stage. Nervous, she didn't know what to expect. Then Maná's lead singer began to sing El Reloj Cucú, a song of grief over losing his father. In that moment of mutual pain, with a picture of Maite on the concert screen.
When he was singing it, I felt it too, like the song says, I felt it all the way down to my bones, and I feel the words and the pain and everything that I went through.
Ana clutched the turtle pendant that holds her daughter's ashes, and she felt the strength.
A mother's broken heart is very powerful.
To keep Maite's story alive. Anayeli Ruiz, KHOU 11 News.
KHOU 11 has continuing coverage of what happened in Uvalde and the aftermath. Now about a year and a half after the shooting that claimed those 21 lives. You can keep up to date via khou.com/Uvalde. One of the best high school football players in the country is also one of the biggest. So how does he measure up? Jason Bristol visited Fort Bend County to find out.
Ready, to go.
He is used to the spotlight. Just not this kind of attention.
Hello.
I mean, I do like over the phone interviews and whatnot for
the
stuff
recruiting
like that.
websites
Yeah,
and stuff.
But news, big boy love, this we need more of this.
Being a big boy is why we've come to Fort Bend Christian Academy to meet senior offensive tackle Bennett Warren. How big are you?
According to when I actually go places, it's 6'7.5", 300. Like last time I weighed, it was 333.
Okay, I'm 6'3", 180. You'd have no problem taking care of me, would you?
No, I don't think so.
Ready, to go.
Another massive measurement. Bennett is ranked among the top 100 recruits in the nation. And of those 100 players, he is, no surprise, the largest one.
Ready, to go.
He told me he started high school at
220 to 280 the next year.
And his skill set has grown too, according to head coach Jordan Black, who was once an NFL lineman.
I've seen him come from, looking like a baby giraffe when he was young to somebody that's grown into his body, learned how to play football, and he's become pretty dominant.
Right foot. Bennett's next enormous step, heading to the University of Tennessee. With his height and weight and a willingness to learn.
There you go.
You now know why there's a lot to love about this big boy.
I got no problem being a big boy.
Bennett Warren.
Run, good.
Jason Bristol, KHOU 11 News.
You want more high school football coverage? Oh, we've got it for you. Just go to khou.com/sports for highlights and scores. court documents shed new light on a series of car thefts across Houston. Investigators say the targets included muscle cars and popular pickups, and one of the victims is Hall of Famer baseball's Mr. October, Reggie Jackson. Devon Rahming found out the suspect in the case is a known gang member and is now charged with 5 felonies.
Tonight, police putting out a call for help finding 33-year-old Juan Luna. They say he's wanted in connection to multiple car thefts across Houston. His latest victim, baseball legend Reggie Jackson.
They broke into the place where I'm staying and busted the windows out and stuff like that.
The former Yankee slugger, now a special assistant with the Astros, spoke to us tonight from batting practice on the road in Arlington. Jackson, a huge car collector, reported his custom 2022 Dodge Charger Hellcat stolen from a parking garage in downtown Houston last week. The car's worth $170,000.
Window sticker says Chrysler Motors, especially built for Reggie Jackson.
Based on newly obtained court records, surveillance video caught Luna and an accomplice driving a blue Ford Fusion into the garage where Jackson's Hellcat was parked. Moments later, police say cameras show the same blue Ford leaving behind Jackson's Hellcat. Investigators also say the same Ford Fusion was caught on camera twice more that same day, leaving in tandem with vehicles later reported stolen from a garage in the Med Center. Those vehicles, a Ford F-150 and a Dodge Ram pickup. Crime Stoppers is now offering a $5,000 reward to anyone with information that could help lead to Luna's arrest. As for Mr. October,
I'm going to add some to that too, and I won't say how much, but I'm going to add in there. I hope to get it back, and I can throw in some playoff tickets.
Insurance experts say Hellcats in particular are among the most stolen cars in America this year, partially because of their bad boy reputation. Wednesday, we got a first-hand look inside a Houston ISD NES, or New Education System school. It's part of the state-appointed superintendent's revamped instructional plan. Michelle Choi took the tour of Lawson Middle School with Superintendent Mike Miles.
Morning, guys.
Week 2 into the new school year, HISD Superintendent Mike Miles says he's pleased with what he's seeing so far.
Things are going really well. What I see is teachers teaching, they're up, they're using the model. Kids are learning.
He spent a good part of Wednesday morning observing teachers, students, and giving instant feedback to staff here at Lawson Middle School, one of the district's 85 NES or New Education System campuses. This school, along with 56 others, opted into the program. One of the controversial big changes includes turning libraries into so-called team centers.
I know there's been that misinformation about, well, it's just we turned libraries into detention centers. Come on. Does this look like detention to you? This looks like student studying.
He says while this area will be used at times for disruptive students to learn by Zoom, its core purpose is to be used by advanced students who need more challenging work.
The proficient and accelerated kids get harder work, and they go out here and they work on their own.
They'll also be assisted by learning coaches. Miles says students will start their day by taking a quiz. If a student needs more one-on-one learning, they'll stay in their designated classroom where both an experienced teacher and a teacher's apprentice will help.
And this way we never have substitutes. We always have high-quality instruction.
Each campus will also have several team centers based on grade level. And as for the library itself, he says books aren't going anywhere. The district's new open door policy has also gotten a lot of pushback due to safety concerns. Today we saw some classroom doors propped open, others closed. When we asked why, Miles told us it all came down to fire safety. He says 20% of the district's campuses are old and don't have built-in sprinklers.
And in that case, we want to be as safe as possible. So if we don't have a sprinkled building, we will keep the doors closed.
The open environment policy also includes not covering windows so administrators can see what's going on to help teachers.
You know, we have to be able to come in and out, and teachers need to feel like they're going to get coaching and feedback.
As for parents who are still anxious about the changes, Miles told us he understands and encourages parents to visit their kids' schools to see for themselves. You can learn more about NES schools at khou.com/education. A group created in the 90s to protect people from hate crimes is operating again. Called KHOU Patrol, its volunteers used to walk the streets with two-way radios to prevent violent attacks. Well, now the organization says new laws that target the LGBTQ+ community made it necessary. Janelle Bluda sat down with KHOU Patrol's founders.
It was October 1991, nearly 32 years ago, when a group of volunteers in Montrose brought an entirely new definition to Neighborhood Watch.
The KHOU Patrol was formed in response to violence that was taking place around gay bars in Houston.
The group, called KHOU Patrol, had one goal: keep people safe as they went to and from bars in Montrose.
To be the eyes and ears so that we could make the call to the police and report things.
Interviewed by KHOU 11 News decades ago,
so I feel like we have made some definite progress.
original founders Mark Gardner and husband Stephen Tompkins say the group disbanded after several years when police increased their presence.
So we weren't really needed that much.
Today, 3 decades later, members of the LGBTQ community say the need is back.
We have people losing their lives in Montrose, and now we're going through it all again.
Salvador and Mark Miave, founders of the group Act Out HTX, say they decided to bring back KHOU Patrol.
It's kind of a shocker because it seems like we're going back in time a little bit.
After seeing a change in political climate and laws.
Because it's coming. There is an us and there is a them. Let's be real.
They say while the original KHOU Patrol took a reactive response to crime that already occurred, they're hoping this time to be proactive to prevent hate that could happen.
And it's evolved with our technology, with the social media, with the people that we know, with networking.
Taking KHOU Patrol to the next level, the new founders say they still plan to have volunteers walk the streets at night, but they hope to attend other events and be a hub for resources and education.
We have jiu-jitsu training, we have diffusion training, we have additional trainings for active shooter, we have one coming in for Narcan use.
It's an effort the original founders say is long overdue.
We're out there on the street and we're visible with cameras and eyes and reporting mechanisms. That's going to make a difference.
KHOU Patrol says it has 25 volunteers or so, but is looking for more. It's also working on setting up a hotline so people can call in if they need help, even something like an escort to their car. You can learn more about KHOU Patrol's history by going to khou.com/ourstoryourhistory. Let's talk scammers and skimmers. Pasadena police say this guy was caught on camera installing a debit card skimmer on an ATM, one of several devices used to steal $13,000 in recent weeks. Janelle Bluda shared what to look out for.
Over the course of a month, Pasadena police say 4 different men installed card skimmers at ATMs across the city.
When the individual goes to use their debit or credit card, the information is skimmed or scanned into this device that they installed onto the ATM.
Jessica Ramirez with Pasadena Police shows us an example from a previous case at this ATM. She says the devices capture a person's card number and a camera was put over the number pad to capture the PIN.
This could be anywhere, a gas pump, ATM, at a store.
We've covered these before, but tonight both Pasadena Police and the Better Business Bureau say skimmers are on the rise.
It's something that everyone needs to be aware of, watch out for, because it could happen to anyone.
And when it comes time to pay, while you have options, swipe, chip, and tap, some might be better than others. Wallet Hub says chip cards are more secure than traditional credit cards because they are difficult to clone. They create a unique code for each transaction. But tapping to pay, PayPal says, can be even safer because with Tap to Pay, your debit or credit card never makes physical contact with the reader. With Apple and Google Pay, both companies say your credit card information is never even at risk. A unique code is generated each time, independent of your card. The BBB says you can find alternate ways to pay.
You could actually go inside and pay that way instead of paying at the pump.
And instead of an ATM, you can go directly to the bank teller. But if you are using a card reader, police say inspect it first.
Usually it's raised, or if something looks like it's not straight or aligned, it's kind of offset, maybe whether it's the keypad or the actual device where you put your card in.
In Pasadena, Janelle Bluda, KHOU 11 News.
The Fort Bend County DA's office has a message for drivers: stop and yield. And it sent officers out to school zones to spread the word. Michelle Choi spent the day at E.A. Jones Elementary School in Missouri City talking about crosswalk safety.
Yeah, the Fort Bend County DA's office says that they chose to do their operation at this particular school zone here on Martin Lane after a parent recently contacted them saying she was almost hit by a car while walking her son to school. Well, after talking to more parents and even the crossing guard today, we learned there have been several close calls in this area. From passing out flyers.
I'm with District Attorney's Office.
Yes,
We're
sir.
just passing these out.
To warnings and citations, investigators with the Fort Bend County DA's office and Missouri City Police are on a mission. 2 years ago, the DA's office says the Lisa Torrey Smith Act, also known as the crosswalk law, which holds a driver responsible for crashes leading to death or injury of a person at a crosswalk, was passed here in Texas after a young Missouri City mom of 2 was killed by a driver while walking her son to school. A law the DA's office says many drivers still aren't fully aware of.
Under the previous statute, drivers were required to yield to people and cyclists in a crosswalk. Under the new statute, they are required to stop and yield.
Today's operation, a result of that, taking place at another school zone parents claim is dangerous.
Every day, it's like cars just flying, like there's no kids, there's no stops.
Ethelyn Garza walks her grandson to school every day.
Cars need to slow down.
Someone else who's fed up is 78-year-old Robert Mercy, the school crossing guard.
Well, at this particular location, I'm just about ready to give it up.
In the 2 years he's been walking kids and parents across this street, Robert says he's had too many close calls.
I've had several confrontations with people, stopping them when they don't want to be stopped.
His message for drivers:
think about your kids. Do you want someone to run one of your kids down because they're being negligent?
Yes, for how today's operation went, well, investigators tell me in a matter of just 2 hours this morning, 18 people were pulled over and given either warnings or citations, as well as these awareness flyers. The DA's office says they plan on conducting more of these operations in the coming weeks.
As your education station, KHOU 11 is committed to addressing your questions and concerns about local schools. Go to khou.com/education to see our coverage of safety and security, the teacher shortage, curriculum changes, and more. The city of Houston says it's getting 500 new calls for water leaks every week. That's up from 300 this time last year. The prolonged drought is a big factor behind the pipe breaks, but Jeremy Rogalski dug up something else. That nearly 100 miles of city water mains are more than 100 years old.
Houston has a gusher of a problem.
The pipe on the other street was broke.
A flood of 311 calls
This one just broke.
pouring into the city's helpline,
We've had quite a few water leaks over here.
draining the patience
No pressure, no water pressure.
of customers like Gloria Powell, waiting for a fix.
I have not gotten a response yet.
How long are you going to give it?
I'll call every day if I have to.
The city is quick to put Mother Nature on the hot seat.
Because it is so dry. The ground is shifting, the pipes are shifting.
But KHOU 11 Investigates discovered something else going on. We analyzed data for more than 7,000 miles of Houston water mains and found 94 miles of pipe are past their expected lifespan. The average age, 107 years. The records also reveal another 48 miles of pipe that the city doesn't even know when it was installed.
What I would say is that we have a data set that does have some errors in it, but that the errors are not widespread and they're not fatal flaws.
Carol Haddock is director of Houston Public Works.
Do we need to correct it? Absolutely. Are we working our way through it? Absolutely.
Records show 90% of the outdated pipes are made of galvanized steel or cast iron. They're heavily concentrated inside the 610 loop, downtown, Montrose, and the East End in City Council District I.
Out of all the 11 council districts, we're the one that has the most mileage of pipes that need to be replaced, so it's very serious.
So where does the city of Houston go from here?
When you're looking at it in a drought year, we're spending a lot of money on putting Band-Aids on pipes, and that is not where we want to be. Where we want to be is replacing those pipes.
Director Haddock says the city has 24 waterline projects in the design phase that are funded and ready to move forward. And the sooner, the better. Every month, the city loses millions of gallons of water to leaks, water that could otherwise be sold.
The value of every drop of water is precious. And so the value of any of this water that is not productively used is what we're focused on stopping.
The Public Works Director also says the city's looking to tap into federal infrastructure funding and making sure the city is at the front of the line to get those federal dollars. Now, if you would like to know if these aged out pipes are in your neighborhood, check out this interactive map online right now at KHOU.com. I'm Jeremy Rogowski, KHOU 11 Investigates.
Our Investigates team is always working on something. You can check out their stories or send them a tip by visiting khou.com/investigations. Rehearsals are underway for the 48th season of Houston's Main Street Theater. Here's a look at what makes this spot one of our area's hidden gems. What might just look like a hole in the wall in Rice Village is actually an icon in the Houston theater community. This is Main Street Theater.
We were founded in 1975, but we've been here since the early 80s, and this is our main stage. This is where we do our plays for adults.
The space on Times Boulevard only seats about 100.
Our performance style, our aesthetic that we've developed over the years is an intimate one. You're sharing the experience in a way that is so intimate and personal, not us pulling you on stage, but you're sharing a moment in time that's not going to happen exactly the same way again.
Theater is about human connection, about experiencing a story together. The environment certainly helps, but the talent on stage and off does most of the heavy lifting.
We are so fortunate. There are so many extraordinary artists in Houston, certainly actors, but also designers, directors, stage managers, crew. And it takes everybody to make that work.
In many cases, those folks share their skills with any number of theaters around Houston, each of which has its own personality, its own niche.
You're going to see things here that you wouldn't see there, that you wouldn't see here, that you will see here, that kind of thing.
So at Main Street,
our audiences are curious. They're hungry for more. They want to know more. They want to really get invested in it intellectually, emotionally. We can't fly in a chandelier or something, which is amazing, and you can do that in other spaces. But what we can do is bring you right into the heart of the story and say, let's do this story together, and we love that.
In addition to the 6 adult plays, which each run for about 4 weeks during its season, Main Street also produces 7 shows for kids that match.
Our Theater for Youth also tours across Texas, and so we'll bring the theater to you if you can't come here, because again, if we can't connect, then that's why we want to be here. So.
Theaters, museums, green spaces, small businesses, we highlight them all. You can see for yourself at khou.com/hidden gems, where you'll find detailed articles about each location and an interactive map that lets you plan out your next adventure. A 4th trial for A.J. Armstrong. His attorney's pushing for one after A.J. was found guilty of killing his parents after being tried 3 times. Michelle Choi explained.
So A.J. Armstrong was supposed to be in court this morning, but he was never brought over because the judge had a conflict. This afternoon, he remains behind bars at the Harris County Jail. As for when he'll be transferred to a state prison, that's still up in the air. 3 weeks ago, a jury found Armstrong guilty of killing his parents. This is video of him 2 days after his conviction, where he asked the judge for a court-appointed attorney for his appeal, saying he couldn't afford one. Fast forward to today, we learn Armstrong isn't going with a public defender. Instead, his family has hired a new lawyer, Patrick McCann, for the appeal. McCann says if there's grounds for a motion for a new trial, he'll file that next week before the September 15th deadline. He also told us he's had a chance to visit with his client.
He's very cheerful and optimistic despite the circumstances. He misses his family, and I know that he misses his wife and child, so best I can do is get busy and hopefully get him a shot at coming back to them.
Yeah, McCann says he's got a lot to dive into, but added prosecutors are being cooperative. He says he'll be looking for possible new witnesses and evidence outside of the record that jurors have not yet seen. Now, if the judge grants motion for a new trial, McCann says he'll have limited time to get a hearing on it, so he's hoping that the court will also take that into consideration and allow Armstrong to stay at the county jail for now.
Our hot, dry summer is hitting Texas trees hard. A local arborist says different species are dealing with it in different ways. Troy Kless got tips on how to address heat stress.
Down in Friendswood, Tree Solutions of Texas is confronting a problem.
This tree right here has a pretty bad chance of surviving just because we haven't been watering this tree the way we need to water it.
Jose Garcia says the dry soil is not allowing trees to get the nutrients they need, and they may not stand tall very long.
And that's kind of like one of the calls that we get for the most, a water oak falling over a house right now. So definitely it's pretty much across the board. There's one over here on the deck.
You may also see the sun's impacts. Tree bark can't get a break.
This right here is a perfect example of what can happen when a tree is exposed.
Bark chipping, leaves, and soil drying are the signs that you should look out for. This year, large tree canopies like Memorial Park are seeing typical signs of drought, but the city's forester says supplemental watering this year has helped the trees stay healthy. Garcia recommends watering your trees with an irrigation system and getting a moisture meter that you can plant in the soil around the tree. Garcia says it can save green, whether it's money or trees.
Once the tree starts dying, it could fall over a house, it could fall over a car, it could create some serious damage. The only thing that a tree could need is water. So if that's preventable, the cost of removal is definitely a little bit more higher than just watering a tree.
This coming week's forecast includes the chance of some much needed rain. You can track those chances day by day at khou.com/weather or just text the word weather to 713-526-1111 and we'll send you back a link to the forecast. Friday, Texans great J.J. Watt appeared on CBS Mornings to talk about his new career as a studio analyst for CBS Sports. Here's why he said he took the job.
I love the game. I love talking about the game. I love, talking to the players, the coaches, just helping share that knowledge. I mean, I've got 12 years of NFL knowledge, and I've been playing since 5th grade. So I want to be able to share some of that and kind of give an insight to the fans of what a player thinks.
Now, it's been a year since Watt revealed he had to get his heart shocked back into rhythm after going into atrial fibrillation, known as AFib. Cheryl Mercedes talked to an electrophysiologist with Memorial Hermann and UT Health to learn more about the most common type of irregular heart rhythm.
Can you explain what AFib is and what the symptoms are?
Sure. Thank you, first of all, and thank you for bringing more awareness to the month. Atrial fibrillation is the most common arrhythmia that you mentioned. It is particularly important because we've just gone through the COVID epidemic, but we are in the midst of an atrial fibrillation epidemic for the last 10 years and definitely for the next 10 to 20 years, increasing prevalence of the arrhythmia. And the reason it becomes important, it is the most common arrhythmia relating to stroke. And so the morbidity is very high. It's one thing to die of a stroke. It's one thing to be alive with a very, very disabling stroke. The whole family then becomes very involved in the care. So that's why the care for atrial fibrillation becomes that important. The symptoms are particularly, they can be widely varying. Most people think of heart racing as being the only major symptom of an arrhythmia, but many patients often will not have heart racing. They may just feel more fatigued, a little bit of effort intolerance, some cough with exertion. Some people might manifest signs of heart failure with a little bit of leg swelling, but most commonly more tired than usual. Able to do mild activities, but not able to do certain other activities, and occasionally heart racing as well. So those are, the most common. You want to try to catch the disease before a symptom is manifest, because usually symptoms mean that the disease has progressed to a later stage. Like a stroke might be the first symptom, or heart failure might be the first symptom. And that usually is a little bit too late.
Dr. Harry Howron with UT Health, we thank you so much for this wealth of information.
Thank you very much.
A Deer Park man recently suffered a stroke and lost his ability to speak, but he can still sing. Stephanie Whitfield introduced us to Jeremy Elbert.
So which one would we point to if you wanted to go outside?
Jeremy Elbert has spent the last month relearning how to walk and talk.
Brush.
He suffered a stroke the first week of August. For now, his wife Kathy is speaking for him.
I could tell he knew who I was, but obviously we were both scared. So
doctors say he completely lost the ability to understand and express speech.
So,
you got it.
What? So.
Forming simple sentences is still hard work, but singing,
"What's for dinner?"
is a different story.
So the parts of the brain that serve language through music are different than the parts of the brain related to understanding speech or producing speech.
You say this. His doctor at Tier Memorial Hermann says patients who suffer this kind of stroke seem to regain speech and confidence back faster with music therapy.
So you can use those parts of the brain that were not injured to be able to create meaningful speech.
Your name is power. For Jeremy, music isn't just therapy. It's a big part of his life. He was worship leader at his church.
I speak Jesus.
He's singing this song from memory.
Your name is healing.
Although his journey is far from over, their faith is their fuel to keep going. Kathy is confident this is a recovery story.
He comes out with phrases. He said, "I love you" the other day when I didn't hear it for a while.
Those 3 words, music to her ears. Stephanie Whitfield, KHOU 11 News.
Hope that helped you catch up on this past week and you're ready for the next one. Remember, you can tune into KHOU 11 on air, online via KHOU.com and YouTube, as well as by using our free KHOU 11 Plus app on Roku, Fire TV, and Apple TV. Have a great week.